Remember, every problem has a solution. And this is something I can deal with. All is well in my world. This is a temporary thing. I'm working through it. And you're not a bad person, ever. See, do we see only the limits? Do we go into, oh, poor me, here it goes again? Well, if it is a continuous thing, then it means that this is a lesson that we haven't learned yet. That's all it means. So we need to do a little work on it. See, do we see limits, or do we open ourselves to possibilities? Tremendous possibilities. There are so many ways we can do things. Remember, we don't have to always know how things are to be worked out. We just need to be willing. Doesn't matter what the problem is. You don't have to figure out the how, but be willing to change, be willing to let go, be willing to open yourself to something new. We can trust and we can know. We can trust and know things like all is well and everything is working out for the best. Everything is working out for the best. And stay with that. See, I think it's essential that we move away from our limited thinking or beliefs, or we're going to be left behind. It's time for us to develop a more cosmic view of life. The consciousness development movement now is happening now on a scale that it has never happened before. It's overtaking the informational development enormously. I saw a chart not so long ago that just fascinated me, and it was a graph that showed the development that has been going on since the beginning of recorded history. And there was this long stretch of the agricultural movement, where people just dug in the ground for their food, period. Then we had the industrial movement, and it came and the graph started to go up. And it went a certain way. And then somewhere, I think it's in about the 50s, we began what we call the informational thing. This is when computers and all the things that can communicate around the planet so quickly came along. And all of a sudden, the graph starts to do this. But at about the same time as that was happening, there's another thing that's beginning to happen, about 20 years now. And the graph is incredible because it's the consciousness raising movement, and it's going like this. Consciousness raising is going up at an incredible rate, and this is happening all over the planet. It's absolutely amazing. I do a lot of traveling. I go many places, and wherever I go, I see people that are studying, learning, fascinated with how their minds work and what they can do to begin to take control of their minds and of their life and their experiences. I've been to Australia, I've been to Jerusalem, I've been to London and Paris and Amsterdam. I've been all over the place, and everywhere I go, I meet large groups of people, and they're not coming just to hear me, but they already know this. So we're searching everywhere. We want to know how our minds work and what we can do to increase things. Religions used to keep us separate. In fact, they still do in many parts of the world, and Ireland is a good example of that. But the new levels of spirituality that are happening are beginning to connect us all. There are soul connections being made all over the planet. And we are always being connected with like-minded people. Remember, every time you think a thought, every time you say something, it goes out from you. And it connects with like-minded people who are doing the same thing. So every time you meditate, you are connecting with other people all over the planet that are meditating. Every time you do a visualization for your health, or your family, or your city, or your country, you are connecting with other people on the planet that are doing the same thing. Every time we do positive affirmations, we are connecting with other people who are doing positive affirmations. As we feel our oneness with all of life, we move to new levels of awareness. And we can't do this if we allow ourselves to be stuck in the judgments and the prejudices and the guilts and the fears. Remember, every time you are into prejudice, your thoughts and your words are going out and connecting with like-minded people that are doing the same thing. Every time you're judgmental, you connect with people who are doing that. Every time you're critical, you connect with other people that are doing that. And every time you get into guilt, you're also connecting with that. So who is it, what kind of like-minded people do we want to be connected with? See, we have to begin to understand that our minds are so powerful. And not only do we contribute to our own experiences, but we also contribute to everything on the planet. You know, the planet is in terrible shape at the moment. We have nuclear threat, we have acid rain and holes in the ozone layer. The fish are dying, half the vegetation isn't fit to eat. And then we complain. What are we doing on a day-to-day mental level to help heal this planet? I mean, we've created things like Epstein-Barr and AIDS, and we push people away and say, oh, it's their problem. But what are we doing? Every thought we're thinking is contributing to this planet on some level. And what sort of like-minded people do we want to be part of? The totality of possibilities are awaiting us. Think about that, the totality of possibilities. You know, they tell us we only use 10% of our brain. And my question always is, what is the other 90% for? What's it waiting for? It's sitting there waiting for us. See, I think that space travel is only beginning. And inner space travel is also only beginning. So what are you doing with your minds to break barriers? Are you willing to let go of your limitations and your fears? Are you willing to open up? What do you want to do with that 90% of your brain? You know, the thing I'm really working for is to help create a planet where it is safe for us to love each other. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's true, where we can be loved and accepted exactly as we are, where we love and accept ourselves. But we're not going to find this from other people unless we're willing to give it to ourselves. And when we start doing that, when we can get to a point where most of the planet is practicing unconditional love, then we will get the other 90%. Because at the moment, if we had more powers, we would find more ways to torture and kill each other. We're not ready for it. Now, we're at a very, very difficult place on the planet right now, and we can contribute to the end of the planet, everything going down the drain, or we can contribute to the healing of the planet. Are you willing to forgive? Are you willing to practice that? Or do you want to hold on to that self-righteous stuff? See, it doesn't matter whether you're right or you're not right, because the person that you're really hurting is you. And if you're hurting, you're going to connect with other people on the planet that are hurting. And is that the sort of friends you want to have? See, one of the things I want is I want everybody to have their act together, to feel healthy, to be filled with joy, to be loved, and to be prosperous. Think what a wonderful world that's going to be for me. And I think if we're more conscious of that what we're giving out is coming back to us, and think about the sort of world we want to live in, we'd be more willing to forgive, and we might be a little more willing to practice, to the best of our ability, unconditional love, which just means accepting other people as they are. Isn't that what you want? Don't you want people to accept you exactly as you are? How far are we willing to go with expanding the horizons of our thinking? See, are you willing to go beyond your neighbors? Or do you have to stay just where they are? Is that what's comfortable for you? That might mean that you don't get to grow because those neighbors may not want to grow. You might want to connect with other people. What sort of like-minded people do you want to connect with? And how far will you stretch? How often do you go beyond your present limits? Do you stop at I can't? Or do you say to yourself, well, maybe this time I can? Just maybe this time I can. We have a wonderful television show out in California called There Is a Way. And every time I hear that, I always think, yes, there is a way. There is always a way. There is always a new and better way, a different way, if only we're open to it. Virginia Satir, the wonderful family therapist, once did a study, and she discovered that there were over 250 different ways to wash dishes, depending on who was washing them and what the equipment was that was being used. You know, and how many times have we heard people say, this way, this is the only way. There's only one way to do it. If we open ourselves to learning something new, then we can grow and we change. Or do we already know it all? Trouble with knowing it all is you don't get to grow and nothing new can come in. Do you really accept that there's a power and an intelligence greater than you are? Or do you think you're the whole thing? See, if you think that you're it, then of course you're frightened. Of course. If I thought I had to run this whole world all by myself. But if you realize that there's a power and an intelligence in this universe, this world, that's far greater and brighter and smarter than you are, and is on your side, then you can move into that mental space where the totality of possibilities can operate.